Hello everyone, this is Evangelist Michael Sansom with Michael Sansom Ministries, and we're going into the Prophecy Series Chapter 3, and it's Part 1, and it's covered under Matthew 24, and I subtitle it, The Beginning of Sorrows. So this one's going to be rather long because this part of prophecy takes a lot of information. So bear with me for this time period. And you'll be seeing some charts and everything. But I'm going to be covering Matthew 24, verses 1 through 8. So in verses 1 and 2 it says, "And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down." Now this prophecy was fulfilled in AD 70, when the Roman legions overtook Jerusalem and killed tens of thousands, burned the temple down, and more. The blocks were removed to expose the gold that melted between them. Titus Flavius Josephus was a Romano-Jewish historian who was born in 37 AD in Jerusalem. He wrote books on the Jewish wars, which were published in 75 AD. He later wrote about Jewish antiquities, a sequel to Jewish history, and more. The destruction of the temple was described in great detail in Josephus' writings called Wars of the Jews, Book 6, chapters 4 and 5. In fact, Josephus himself fought against the Romans in Jerusalem. The details are graphic and heartbreaking, so I will not detail them here. I will consider creating a reading video to post later that shows those details. Now in verses 3 through 5 says, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the end of the world? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Now 43 people, male and female, from all over the world have claimed to be Jesus Christ, the embodiment of Jesus Christ, or having received the Spirit of Jesus Christ. This is just counting those from the 18th to the 21st centuries. 47 people, male and female, from all over the world, have also claimed to be the Messiah. This is counting those from the 1st to the 21st centuries. Each of these Jesus Christ or Messiah claimants have drawn followers, and a few were declared as Messiah or Jesus by their followers. Verse 6 says, And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. This has been fulfilled every decade since Jesus died on the cross. Wars have occurred all over the world and still do. More will be coming. The key point that Jesus is making here is this: there will be no real peace until he comes back. This verse that we're about to read, which is verse 7, covers two sections. So let's talk about it. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. So the first section covers political conflicts between nations and between kingdoms, such as tribal leaders who control regions in the same nation. This was common in Arab nations prior to the uprisings against Great Britain. These are judgments related to mankind against mankind. Isaiah 19:2, King James Version says, And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight every one against his brother and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. Matthew 10:34 in King James Version says, Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I come not to send peace, but the sword. The world nations are now aligning themselves for the coming Antichrist. When the leader of Afghanistan left his position to escape, it reminded me of the 10 kingdoms that the Antichrist will take over. The Antichrist will uproot 3 original kingdoms in Daniel 7 and 8. The second section covers natural disasters, and they are judgments related to the earth against mankind. Isaiah 26 and 9, King James Version says, "With my soul I have declared thee in the night. Yea, with my spirit within me will I seek thee early. For when thy judgments are in the earth, the inhabitants of the world will learn righteousness." So let's talk about these. Pestilences, or infectious diseases. A pestilence is defined as a fatal epidemic disease, especially bubonic plague. The diseases listed in my chart are epidemics, and they have been recurring. The World Health Organization states that there are 17 million deaths per year due to infectious diseases. It is the world's leading cause of premature death. In the chart that I'm presenting before you, then you'll see the total pestilence victims, the type of pestilence it was, the year span in which they occurred, and the millions of people who died because of it. Those year spans, you'll see that some of the pestilences or epidemics repeated themselves. Matter of fact, they've been occurring since the 2nd century. The latest 2 epidemics, HIV/AIDS and COVID-19, are still ongoing. They haven't stopped. HIV/AIDS started in 1981, so it has been progressing for 40 years. Smallpox has hit 3 times. Bubonic plague has hit 6 times. Coquelicilla has hit 2 times, and influenza has hit 4 times. Thus, it is evident that past epidemics can and do return. Famine. Famine is defined as an extremely scarcity of food. It can be caused by war, inflation, crop failure, population imbalance, or government policies. It is often followed by regional malnutrition, starvation, epidemic, and increased mortality or death. Excuse me. From 2016 to 2020, famine deaths have skyrocketed over 39 million, even though there are many organizations that currently focus on planning for and providing food. But the need is growing faster than the supply. There are currently 494 million people in extreme need of nutrition. It includes men, women, and children, and malnutrition runs high among the children. Now, we can see in this chart that I'm presenting before you that famines and pestilences create much pain and sorrow all over the world. This chart shows you there are millions of victims, and that each one of the years are in 10-year spans. So in 10 years, it created that many victims. As you see, in 2016 to 2020, there are 39,850,000 victims. So it is skyrocketed. And you can see how the chart jumps forward. So, further, I have traced all the data to show that they follow the same path as birth pains. But there is one other event that really shows evidence, and that's earthquakes. An earthquake is a sudden, violent shaking of the ground. Sometimes causing great destruction as a result of movements within the Earth's crust or volcanic action. We have statistics on earthquakes as far back as 1600. However, the first U.S. seismographs were not installed until 1887. So events in the earthquake logs prior to 1887 were manual entries from documents collected all over the world. So we cannot be sure if every earthquake was written about. Anyway, there is more than enough data to complete this requirement. So we're going to talk about seismic wave energy. Earthquakes are rated according to the magnitude, damage/impact, and energy release of the event. In the chart that you see before you, there are 10 magnitudes that are tracked. And magnitude 1 the magnitude is not even listed because it's so low, but magnitude 2, there is no likelihood of damage to buildings, and the energy release is 56 kilograms of explosive. Now, let me tell you, 1 kilogram is equal to 2.205 pounds. So if you go to magnitude 3, it's felt inside. It's likelihood of minor damage to buildings. It is 1,800 kilograms of explosive release. 4 is a minor earthquake felt strongly by humans, and it's 56,000 kilograms of explosive. 5 is like a light earthquake, some property damage. It's 1,800,000 kilograms of explosive release power. 6 is moderate earthquake with property damage, and it's 56 million kilograms of explosive power. 7 is a strong earthquake, damaging billions of dollars and loss of life. It is 1,800,000,000 kilograms of explosive power of release. And 8 is a great earthquake, severe economic impact and a large loss of life. It is 56 billion kilograms of explosive power release. A 9, that's the largest earthquakes that we have recorded to date. Destruction is over a vast area with a massive loss of life. It is 1,800,000,000,000 kilograms of power release. 10, we haven't experienced a 10 yet. However, we will. It is catastrophic. The shaking could last for many days, with a tsunami that would last for days, impacting multiple continents. That number is so big, it's over the trillions. As you see, 56 with 12 zeros behind it. That's how powerful it is. Quadrillion kilograms of explosive. That is powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you we have had 9 earthquakes. So for my purposes, I'm only going to list the earthquakes that are 5 or higher magnitude, since for biblical purposes, this builds up to great earthquakes in the book of Revelation from the beginning until the end. In the 100 years between 1600 and 1699, there were 2 5.0 plus earthquakes. That means earthquakes that were between 5.0 and 5.99 earthquakes, and 1 5.0 plus earthquake in the 100 years since 1700 to 1799 that were recorded. So they don't have much impact since it covered 100 years, but like I said, this is a period where there may be many, and surely probably were many, that were never recorded. But this changed in the 1800s. The chart lists the total earthquakes for each 10-year time span, 1800 to 1820, 1821 to 1830, and so on. As you can see, the number of earthquakes began to grow. In 1901, earthquakes began to occur more frequently, and more powerful earthquakes started happening. You can see in this chart, for the total earthquakes, how it suddenly jumped up. Now understand, in the pains of a childbirth, when it gets close to the end, it's going to be much stronger. And this is what we're seeing. If you look down in the chart on the 10-year spans and you look at the total, you see how those earthquakes, the total number of earthquakes, has drastically increased. And in 2011, we are even having more. 2021, we've got a lot more that are happening just for this year. Well, I searched the archives to see if there may be corresponding events that would cause God to cause this increase. In other words, what set us in this timeline? What I found was interesting. In the 20th century, from 1900 to 1999, more Christians died for their faith than all the centuries of church history combined. Justin D. Long wrote, during the 20th century, we have documented cases in excess of 26 million martyrs. From AD 33 to 1900, we documented 14 million martyrs. It is estimated that over 100,000 Christians are and have been martyred each year in the 21st century. Over 1 million were martyred from 2000 to 2010. World War II started and ended during this period. Nuclear weapons were created and used during this period. Nuclear reactors were created and used in this period and beyond. Now, I don't know if that had any impact on it, but especially for religious purposes, the great increase in the numbers of Christians being killed could have, and most likely did, is following what has been prophesied. Using another chart format, I broke down the total earthquakes into their magnitude ranges. This chart shows how many earthquakes occurred in a 10-year time span by magnitude. As you can see in this chart, the numbers of magnitudes grew. As you see, we had numerous 7 to 7.99 and 8 to 8.99 earthquakes. We also had 5, 9.0 to 9.99 earthquakes. And you can see in that chart how that's jumped up and that's grew, and you see the numbers on the left side broken apart by the magnitude range. And it's also on a 10-year time span. One of those 9 or greater earthquakes was the Great Chilean earthquake of 1960. It was a 9.5. Now, I've got some pictures that I will show you as 2 of them that you can see up there. It's called the Great Chilean earthquake is the first one, and the second one is just a picture of some of the damage area. The deaths were 1,600 to 6,000 approximately. Homeless were over 2 million. The cost and damage in 1960 dollars was 400 to 800 million. That would be in trillions in dollars today. The 9.5 magnitude quake triggered a giant tsunami which killed people as far away as Hawaii, the Philippines, and Japan. 4 foreshocks of magnitude greater than 7 occurred just the day before, and it may have reduced the toll because people started evacuating. 2 days later, the Cordon Col volcano in Los Lagos erupted after 40 years of inactivity because of the seismic activity caused by that earthquake. So you can see that's a very massive damage earthquake. And trust me, there are a lot more pictures and with a lot more devastation shown, but you can look them up if you want to. Okay, now we go to Matthew 24, verse 8. All these are the beginning of sorrows. The Greek word for sorrows in this verse is odin. It can mean a period of grieving, but it is most commonly used to represent birth pains. 1 Thessalonians 5 and 3 of the King James Version says, For when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So travail upon a woman is birth pains, and birth pains are rated based on duration, how long the contraction lasts, and frequency from the beginning of one contraction to the beginning of the next one. Contractions get longer, stronger, and closer together as the labor progresses. So I think it is easy to see why these events are pains and sorrows. But what makes them travail upon a woman, or birth pains? These events, meaning the one that I have just revealed to you earlier. Well, in every series, events start out as small and weak. Then the events get stronger, they last longer, and the frequency of the events gets closer together. Right now, there are 5 to 30 earthquakes occurring every day. I have been updating my 2021 data every day. So the signs of the end are acting in like manner as birth pains. The events get longer, stronger, and closer together as the end approaches. Thus, in verse 8, we see that the events we have discussed are birth pains, and as such, they really are the beginning of sorrows. Thank you very much for listening in, and I hope you like this lesson. The next prophecy lesson will be part 2 of Matthew 24. And so, when I'm saying the beginning of sorrows, and when the Bible's saying the beginning of sorrows, then that's saying it's going to get worse as time goes on. Because this is just the beginning. Thank you very much. God bless you. I hope you subscribe to my channel. And I love you all, and I hope you have a great week and day. Thank you.